Hello and welcome to another episode of Business Sense. I'm Ralph Rivas. For today's episode, we have Raffy Fajardo, President and General Manager of PNG Philippines. Hi,
Hi Ralph, thanks
welcome,
for having me
welcome.
here.
For this show, I want to talk about, of course, the impact of the pandemic and to PNG. And good to know that cases are down and the economy is on the mend. What does this mean for business for PNG?
It's indeed good news. The trend's in the right direction for us all personally, and also for the business. I think first and foremost, our priority has always been the safety and well-being of our employees and the partners that we have. I think we should not let our guard down just because the cases are going down. Right, we need to be very vigilant. So we continue to have that as the top priority. We have utmost safety standards, and we want to keep on implementing those, whether it's our plant or the headquarters. The other priority we had is actually to keep serving the consumers. PNG is a very well penetrated company. We have practically a PNG product in every Filipino household, and we have we're essential goods. We're very important to many consumers in the Philippines. We're glad that during the pandemic we're continuously operating and serving them with the products they need. I think as things open up, we're going to be able to do that at a greater capacity, and so we're very excited for that. It obviously has some positive impact on the business and also with the consumers. And third, I think the crisis is far from over. Our third priority was always help be a force of good in the communities that we operate in, and certainly we're not going to stop doing that. At the early part of the pandemic, Ralph, if you probably know, we repurposed some of our manufacturing lines to be able to produce masks because that was the thing that was in shortage for Philippines. Lately, we've been partnering with many establishments to help bring vaccine access to many of the Filipinos. We've continuously been donating many of our hygiene kits because we have many hygiene products in our portfolio. So we continue to do this. We're delighted that things are opening up, but I think we need to keep vigilant. We need to stay true to these priorities and keep servicing them.
Yeah, of course, PNG produces essential goods this pandemic. And I want to know what particular items are the most in demand? And do you see these items continue having strong demand moving forward now that the pandemic, hopefully, talagang within manageable levels?
We have a lot, Ralph, and I guess that's fortunate, right? Because we serve a lot of essential goods, like you said. We have hygiene products. Safeguard is probably one of our most popular brands in the Philippines, and that's certainly doing very well in the pandemic. The need for antibacterial, protection and safety is high in consumers' needs now. So a brand like Safeguard services that, and again, it's doing very well. But we also have health in our portfolio. We have Vicks, and as an example, and we just recently launched even products that will help the cold virus. Because nowadays, if you have a cold, people are extra cautious. You can't go to work because they might fear it's COVID. So we have solutions on that. The Vicks First Defense, you spray it at the first sign of cold, then it stops it. So you don't have to live with that fear. So we have a portfolio of products, whether it's hygiene or health products, that are actually very important and useful for the Filipinos in this time.
Mm. Any interesting trends or consumer behavior changes that you guys have observed in PNG? Ano ba, mas germophobic na ba yung Filipinos now, or mas I don't know, mas obsessed in cleaning their their homes, things like that?
Yeah, naturally, right? I think there's a sense of fear and sense of needing to protect the family and themselves. So certainly, products that offer extra protection were in higher demand during the pandemic. So that's a group of consumers. I think a majority of households followed that trend. We're also seeing lately, as things start to open up, there's those who want to go back to normal, right? And then, for example, beauty products are on the rise again, whether it's skin creams, cosmetic shampoos. As people go out, those kinds of products are also rising in demand. So I'd say, two stages. First stage in the pandemic, a lot of hygiene and protection products that continues now. I think even when things open up fully, that won't go back to the old level, right? So that's a heightened sense of awareness in that one. There's new habits that were created. For example, hand washing soaps is something that we saw that has grown tremendously during this pandemic. Before, it would just be you share the bar that you were using for showers with also the hand washing in the sink, right? Now there's specialty products for hand washing, for extra hygiene. So those I think will continue to be there. It was heightened during the pandemic, and I think it will remain at a high level even after the pandemic. And now that things are more opening up, the social, beauty kind of products are the ones now emerging. And it's natural, right? If you've been cooped up at home and not been able to, go out and have social interactions, now that's you move into that phase, and people are certainly adapting again. Some people are getting used to even the going out and wearing their outdoor clothes again, right? So you can imagine the health and beauty hygienes are again are picking up.
Yeah, that's interesting because I can relate to that. Parang, I don't know, I think it's been almost 2 years since I last used hair products, right? So parang, wala, hindi na ako bumibili ng wax or, I don't know, baby oil for the hair. So that's an interesting take. So ano ba, what, I mean, did that segment take a hit during the pandemic, and you're expecting a jump in demand for next year, or are you seeing demand picking up already?
We're seeing the demand pick up already. I use Gillette as an example, right? So there was even a stage where many men they were not going out and they were growing their facial hair, right? Now it's starting to be you need to be clean shaven again. Some people are going back to work. It's more practical. It's more I guess more presentable, right? So we're seeing those trends, whether it's the kinds of shampoo you use, the kinds of skin cream you use. And I think that's going to continue, right? And that's good. That's going to be good for the businesses, good for retailers, good for the consumer. So I'm actually quite excited on that front.
Mm. Ako naman, Raffy, I can't relate. I can't grow a beard. Pagdating sa ano.
No
But
judgment, no
anyway.
judgment, Ralph. It's okay.
So pagdating dito sa, I mean, of course, you gotta make these products now that demand is picking up. Globally, there's a global supply issue. Is PNG affected?
Yeah, all of us are affected. Generally, we've been able to operate and supply the goods to the shelves in the stores and eventually to shoppers and consumers. But I must say, it's come with many challenges. I think most, if not all, companies are getting hit by the cost escalation. The crude oil price, commodity prices, shortage in some shipping containers. So those are impacting the cost. But we've had BCPs, business continuity plans, and they're certainly being tested. But thankfully, we have those, and we've been operating largely, smoothly with this. We've also had initiatives during this pandemic that strengthens our long-term supply chain. We've been more flexible. We're actually in the process of opening our second distribution center. It's our first one that's in Visayas. We actually opened the distribution center a few weeks ago in Cebu. Right, that allows us much more flexibility in the supply chain. We now ship direct from on the stuff that we import. We can now ship directly into different cities throughout Philippines. Before we used to only ship to Manila, so then we can put it in our Cabuyao DC. Now it's much more dispersed. And because of those changes, we've been able to navigate the challenges in cost. We've been able to navigate the challenges in the availability of containers. A big part also of our supply chain is local. We have a very big and admirable plant. We have a big production facility in Cabuyao. A big chunk of our business in Philippines comes from that plant. So that allows us a lot of flexibility also in the country. So thankfully, yes, we've been affected with the same external conditions, but we've been able to navigate it, I'd say, relatively better because of the business continuity plans that we had and some of the interventions that we put in place early on in the pandemic. And we're actually thankful that we invested in these things.
Mm. Now, speaking of investments, well, the pandemic really, I wouldn't say had a positive growth on essential companies that produce essential goods. Kasi I mean everybody suffered, right? But tell us about the growth. I mean, moving forward, will we see more facilities in areas for better distribution or ano ba? Yeah, tell us more about that.
That's certainly the intent and my personal passion, Ralph. Right. So I mean, it's the virtuous cycle of being a force for good. Right. As the business grows, we create more employment, we expand our footprint. I think PNG is one of the most reputable employers. Right. So it's whenever someone gets employed by PNG, it's a good opportunity for that person and their family. So the more opportunities we can create for more Filipinos, the better. I must say that. Fortunately, right, again, in this pandemic, our businesses continue to operate. We've actually been adding a lot of people. We've hired a lot. We've had more managerial roles being added in both our plant and in our headquarters. So it's one of those things of pride. So to your question, that's certainly intent. Let's keep growing the business so that we can employ more people, make a more positive impact in community. And it's not just a regular company you're joining; it's PNG, right? So it's a very good career that a lot of these are being given the opportunity to.
Mm. So, mga ilang percent yung work from home and ilang percent yung kailangan magstay? I mean, do you, or at least give us an idea on what types of jobs are required to report on a daily basis and health protocols. Ano ba? How do we maintain a COVID-free or at least minimize COVID infections in the workplace? Any tips that you can give the audience?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Right, so like I mentioned, we have a big manufacturing facility in Cabullo. That has been obviously, folks have to go to the plant to operate the plant. So that's almost 100% capacity of people going to the plant. I must say those are frontliners. They're heroes. They're the ones who are keeping the business afloat and keeping the consumers having access to the products that they need. So they're heroes. So I applaud them. We try to keep them safe. Various safety protocols. So early on, we benefited from being a global company. We have presence in markets like China, where maybe the pandemic is a little bit more early, right? And we benchmark with the best practices on those sites, and we're able to bring them here. Whether it's the percent of people in a room, the kind of hygiene protocols, using the hygiene products that we have. So much so that whenever we get any sort of checks and visits from local government in the plant, actually they always say these are the best in class standards, and they ask for our playbook, and we gladly share them. Again, these are not trying we're not trying to keep it secret. We try to keep everyone protected. So we share them with the LGU, and they said that they're going to share this with other manufacturing sites of other companies, right? So that's the kind of interventions we had. That plant is roughly about a third of our workforce in Philippines. We have headquarter people. That's a two-thirds. That's a balanced two-thirds. There's a big chunk of them are actually our global business services. These are the ones that are running, processes, treasury, accounts receivable, IT for PNG globally, right? So they have been largely work from home, and again, that's part of our business continuity plan. So I'd say two-thirds of our workforce have been working from home, and they actually service not just Philippines but global. One-third is working from the plant ever since the start of the pandemic, so working on site. But we've kept them very safe, and so far, good results on both fronts. We're able to operate, and we've able to largely keep people safe. And like I said, we even hired a lot more people on both sides, and that's a testimony that I guess what we're doing is working.
Yeah, on hiring, what types of jobs are available ba dyan? Because a lot of people, unemployment rate is still pretty high, and people are curious if where they can transfer. So baka naman you can share us some details on the type of people or the type of jobs that you're looking for.
We have jobs across the board, top, bottom up, right? So we have technical jobs in the plant. We have managerial jobs in marketing and sales, and certainly we're hiring, we're recruiting a lot. In the next few days, actually, we're doing something ambitious, right? We've hired a lot during the pandemic, in the almost in the hundreds, Ralph, and we know that some of them have been working from home and they're itching for some of those human interactions. So in the next week, we're actually doing what we call a training bubble. We're bringing together, and we're doing on the job training. We're doing colleges for them, and these are the new hires during this pandemic. Right? So we certainly recruit a lot. We have a lot of openings. Go to png.com for any applications if you want. But my promise is not just the recruitment, actually, it's the continued development. And that certainly hasn't stopped during this pandemic. And like I said, next week, we're proud that we're doing our training bubble, right? We also have regular new hire days. So when we have new hires, we bring them to the office when safe and when willing and able. We bring them there, we train them, we make them meet management. I personally connect with a lot of the new hires. We have the speed dating initiative where we speed date the new hires with upper management just because that we're denied the opportunity to be face to face in this setup, right? So we try to rig it that way virtually. So yeah, we're recruiting a lot. Please apply if anyone's interested. We'll process and get get each application with positive approach, and then if you do make it into PNG, we'll invest and we'll keep growing the people.
Okay, that's good to hear. Now, I'm curious naman, what's the biggest lesson that you've learned this pandemic, or one, two lessons that you can share?
Oh, one to biggest lesson I learned is we deal with people, right? We deal with first of all in the office we deal with obviously our colleagues, employees, and then in the end we sell to consumers and we are people, right? People want to be connected. People are hugely social. I mean that has as the longer the lockdown and working from home has happened, the more you realize that importance of the human connections. It's massively underrated. I think now people are realizing it. So a lot of the stuff that we're doing is trying to bring back those connections, whether it's to our workforce, our employees, our colleagues, but also to consumers. Right? I'll talk a little bit of both. One of the big initiatives that we're doing is, and I do this a lot. What I call personally, I try to keep in touch with as many employees as I can on a personal level, not big town halls, but actually really on a personal level. So I have what I call Kokomo. It's the coffee with country manager outside of office, which is a symbol of let's talk about stuff beyond the usual work that we do. So I've been doing that constantly. It's maybe groups of anywhere between 2 to 8 people, and we talk about anything that employees are in their heart and mind, right? Whether it's personal problems, work suggestions, we talk about it, and those connections go such a long way, right, in establishing trust, and that trust leads to a lot of simplification in the office. So we're doing a lot of those. We're making sure that management tries to be as in touch as possible during this portion. Now, to consumers, we've had to adopt. Normally, we do a lot of research. We go out to do consumer in homes, consumer research. Now we've been having to adopt. We now have stuff like virtual homes, connected homes, where actually we have panels and we measure literally amount of soap that they use, when do they use it, and that helps us give insights. We scour a lot of the social media, those chats, those comments, and see how our consumers responding to some of our products and initiatives. So we've tried to be keeping in touch with our employees, with our consumers, to have that human interaction, because in the end, that's the core of the business. In the end, you're working with people and you're serving people, and you need to strengthen those relationships. So that's the biggest learning I've personally had in this pandemic.
Now, in this pandemic as well, now I want to talk about this because I know PNZ is also quite passionate about sustainability. Now, of course, this pandemic, everybody's protecting themselves using masks, and ngayon napakaraming masks that are nasa basurahan, and plastic waste has also been an issue now because of the delivery services and I don't know, the packaging of lots of goods. So how do you think we should deal with this?
Many fronts, and it's what we're also trying to do as a total company. First front is we need to make this personal, right? We need to make it a personal mission on that end. The other one is, can we help make each individual know, how they can help, right? And that's consumers, that's in our employees, right? And whenever I'm asking, what's the first thing we should do to help build sustainability, be a responsible and sustainable consumer, right? And you need to do that. You need to be aware. You need to make the right choices, and you need to talk about the right choices so that others may make the same journey as you. So make it very personal. In PNG, we're engaging our employees on sustainability. How can we each make a difference in our operations? And we welcome suggestions. We always have this think tank in the office where employees from all over, whether plant, new hire, experience, new management, they suggest what can we do as a company to further build the sustainability of operations. So the first one, make it personal. Second is, can you make it part of your core business, right? Not just a window dressing, not just something you do as a hobby. Can it be part of your core business? And certainly in PNG, we try to make it intrinsic in our products, in our operations. When we talk about the products, generally PNG products are high technology, superior in performance, and these actually lead to lesser carbon footprint. Right? I'll give one example. Our dry dishwashing liquid is very potent and strong, right? So just a few drops, diba, yung tagline niya, isang patak, kayang isang katutak, right? So, how did that help the environment? Because you don't need to lug around all over the Philippines. You don't need to lug around a big product just to deliver the same job, right? So just a little dry bottle can actually wash so many dishes. You don't need to worry about too much of water wastage. You don't need to lug it around in your supply chain, because inherently it's a superior product that does its job better, right? Pampers is another example. Pampers uses less, pulp material because of the technology. It's able to deliver better dryness with less footprint and landfills, right? Because it's inherently a better product. So we're trying to merge these. If you're a responsible consumer, you understand some of these. What are the kinds of products that will help the environment in little ways or big ways, and we try to make that as part of the core of our operations. Our supply chain, I was just describing to you in your question earlier on the pandemic, we've shortened the number of miles our products need to travel by having more flexible supply chains, right? So we go straight to, simply said, we go straight from manufacturing to consumers with less miles needed for the products to travel because of our supply chain. That certainly helps the environment. That's inherently in our operations. So day in, day out, we're helping the environment through those choices, right? And third, in the spirit of your question, I think we need to broaden what sustainability is about, right? I think you mentioned waste, whether it's masks or plastic. That's certainly there. There's other contributors of waste. We need to talk about them. I don't think we're talking about enough, the carbon footprint, energy, sustainable energy, climate, right? So we're trying to expand it there. Are we helping build more forests? So certainly we're doing our job in that as well, in expanding the conversation. One of the things we've done internally, and we share this again to media and other partners, is this Forest for Good. It's an initiative in the region that Philippines is spearheading it. So we're actually having a tree planting initiative in the Sierra Madres, right, and trying to neutralize the carbon waste of not just the company but of in general, right? So three fronts, make it very personal, make it understandable for an individual level. How can each one of us, our employees, our consumers, be sustainable consumers? Second is make it part of the core operation so that you genuinely, day in, day out, are helping with the environment and sustainability. And third, expand the conversations into what really will help the planet and the sustainability.
Mm. Now, I'm curious, no, kasi I've been reading a lot that people are more concerned about sustainability, more conscious about the environment. But do you see that personally, or ano ba? I mean, my take on that is people are indeed concerned about the environment, but there are systems outside that you can't really control, like halimbawa ako, when we try to segregate, makikita mo dun sa collections na pinagsasama-sama rin naman yung waste. So I mean, what's your take on this? are people really thinking more about the environment now, or is it I mean, are there bigger what's the bigger picture? Ganun na lang. That's my question. What's the bigger picture here that we should
Yeah,
appreciate?
it's interesting you bring that up because globally, what we find is consumers want to do good in terms of sustainability, and the biggest barrier to them doing that is they don't know how. Right. So, like that's why I said, you make it personal and you make it easier for them to contribute by being a sustainable consumer. Right. So certainly you're putting your finger on the right piece, right? On the how. Um, my take there is keep very well informed. I think every day we make choices, and those choices can make a big difference. The kind of products you choose, the kind of companies that you choose to follow will make a big difference. How do we make it easier for everyone to do their part, right? And certainly we're trying to do that, right? With like I said, inherently in the products that have lesser carbon footprint than alternatives, we need to educate them on that so that they can make an informed choice. Right? Need to make this responsible consumption possible, and it's easier said than done, Raf, and that's why sometimes you need to expand the conversation. Because sometimes when we talk about too much about, say, hey, this problem on mass, this problem on plastic waste, the sometimes negative effect on that is, as a consumer, how can I help? Right? I have no choice but to use mask, right? That's mandated. What do I do, right? We need to make the conversation wider. And what are the choices available to consumers now that they can make a difference already? Even as simple as what dishwashing product you choose can make a difference. What diaper do you choose can make a difference. What company do you support? Is it a company that the supply chain is taking miles and miles and lugging around lots of water and wasting so much carbon, or is it a company that lessens that? And again, we start with our employees, we start with our partners, and we eventually try to get to the consumers and educate this. How do we make it tangible for them how to make a difference? In PNG, we have already zero waste in the plant, right? And we actually use 80 to 100% renewable energy already. And just those are just big pieces of information that I think we need to equip more people and say, okay, here's the kind of companies that we should choose, and here's the kind of standards that we should have for other companies. So
Yeah.
make it very
So
personal. It's important.
yeah, thank you so much for your insights. That I appreciate your discussion on na dapat yung pag appreciate on sustainability is not just really on throwing waste. It's the entire process, like how companies produce and the I don't know the quality of the ano rin mismo of the products. So yeah, this has been a very interesting discussion. Thanks so much for your time, Rafi. And that was Raffy Fajardo, President and General Manager of PNG Philippines. I'm Ralph Rivas. Thanks for watching.